So it's great to be joined by Quinton again from Social Places. Today, we are going to be talking about, I suppose, all the things that you guys do at Social Places and have done for many years now around local listings, reputation management, social media, local marketing in general for franchisors and its importance. And I think franchisors would have heard the terms like listings management and reputation management, but maybe don't always kind of understand totally what that is within the franchise network and how important it is in the franchise network. So that's obviously what we're going to talk around today. So I suppose starting with the basics, that's around listings management. What do we kind of mean by the term listings management, and what kind of platforms are those listings on, and the importance really for franchisors?
Perfect. Thanks, Adam. I mean, we all know classic Google listing. Google is king. It makes up for, in most places, over 90% of search traffic, local search traffic. So a highly important platform, and we'll discuss a lot about that today. Having ownership of those, making sure that they're verified and optimized for search, highly important. That's essentially what's driving your footfall to your branches, or your conversion if you don't have a physical location, right? Google has something called service area listings and various models. Even for consultants, you can launch a Google listing and geofence and have that operational geofence. So highly important. But then there's something, the NAP, and we'll touch on that a bit as well, is what other platforms support your NAP consistency and drive that, especially now with AI search, voice search. That is a big player, having not only a Google listing that's optimized for search, but a Facebook local page, a Bing listing, a Waze in some cases. You've got a couple of other players. Yell here in the UK, I know, is quite big, which would be your digital version of Yellow Pages. And then, Here Maps, TeleAtlas, so in-car sat-nav devices, or the mapping platforms that filter to any third-party apps that are customer B2C. That's really where we like to start. We say it's the catalyst for any multi-location business, more important than your website in most cases if you're not an online business, and especially important in the franchising world because it becomes a bowl of spaghetti, and confusion, frustration, and friction for a customer is not a good thing for your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think every franchisor understands these listings are out there and probably knows that franchisees have them set up. I think Google Business Profile, like you say, is the one that they're probably most used to. But you mentioned there the kind of NAP score. I think, could you explain why to a franchisor those listings are so important? What having them set up and accurate actually means in the kind of real world?
Perfect. So in layman's terms, essentially what a search algorithm or AI is looking for is uniformity, right? So, and how it identifies that is through NAP. So somebody types in best cleaning service near me, best burger in my neighborhood. We call them non-branded searches. So they're categorical and they're non-branded. How does the algorithm or platform ensure that their search customer gets the best experience and the best result? So what it does is it'll look at all the availability, and it'll identify the ones. This Google listing is optimized. It's got great imagery on it. It's got all of the categories and description information filled out. The trading hours are there. They've got special trading hours, weekend trading hours. They're running content and they're answering their reviews, right? So there's content on that Google listing in the form of an offer or a Google post, and then all of their reviews and Google Q&A are being responded for. So the algorithm identifies that instantly and says the search customer will have a better experience if they go here. So we're going to feed that to the search customer. So that's direct footfall or conversion. But then we go one level deeper, and then there's something called NAP consistency. What if everyone is doing that, right? So everyone has a beautiful Google listing. Now we want to look at NAP consistency. Name, address, phone number. Then what we do is now we look at third-party platforms. So your Facebook local page. We look at your website, store locator. We look at Bing, Apple Maps. Does the naming convention, the address and phone number, match and is uniformed across? We call them a 5-pack. We say every business should have a 5-pack of listings and citations minimum to drive your decent nap. In the past, the more you had, the better it was. It's not the case anymore. Long tail is kind of dead. So you don't need like hundreds of thousands unless you're a specialist in the medical sector, or you like, like a specialist trade, industry specific citation pages that you can list on. So that NAP consistency then drives the algorithm even further, because it identifies not only does this business have a great Google listing, but their information is it's uniformed on Facebook Local. It's the same on Apple Maps. It's the same on Bing. It's the same on Waze, Yell. This, again, our search customer will have a way better experience if we drive them here. Then there's also other elements that come into play with content, reputation management, etc. And we've built a set of tools that allow you to automate a lot of that and drive or reap the results from it. Because, I mean, missed engagement is a missed sale. And a lot of times, as I mentioned, in the franchising industry, franchisees, franchisors are operational people. A lot of the time, they're not marketers, and they don't know what metrics to look for. So, yeah, that would be my layman's terms. I know I went off for a little bit there.
Yeah, no. I think it's really useful, and I think it's actually the concept, I think, for franchisors, that they know these business listings are out there, and they know they're a way to be found by people searching for the business, whether it's through the profile or being shown on the maps, and they understand the importance of that. But I think it's having the additional insight that actually, by having a strong NAP score, by having listings that are consistent across everywhere, it actually helps the algorithms to find the business and puts you in a competitive advantage against other people in the local markets.
100%. So it's broken down into various pillars, and it's quite technical from like the platform, and each platform is quite different. At Social Places, we've broken it into our fundamental categories, which is be found, be discovered, engage, understand, right? So there's all of these pillars that or check boxes that you need to fill or check to have a local strategy, an optimal local strategy. So, and we can touch on those in a bit, but for the listeners, you want to be found. That discovery element, when somebody's searching for something you offer as a product service, that you want to ensure that you are coming up at least in that search, and that you are an option. Then it is, how do I be chosen? So now there's that 3-packed or the AI overview that brings up a couple of options. How do I catch that customer's attention, and how am I chosen within that search? Then it's the engage. Now we got to create that loyalty and a returning customer. So all of those elements, then understand the data as well, so we can make better decisions. And that's really what we focus on at Social Places, is all of those local touch points and bringing it into a visual format so that you can utilize it, because data is just data. We always say, like, looking at a bowl of spaghetti, but we want a non-vanity operational insight that not only the franchisor understands, but that's going to drive and motivate the franchisee as well.
Yeah, and I love this idea of a bowl of spaghetti for a lot of franchisors and their online digital footprint, because probably one of the biggest problems that franchisors have, if you've had 20, 50 franchisees over a 10, 15 year period, inevitably you're going to have franchisees that have left, franchisees that have set up their own rogue listings, social media profiles. A digital footprint could end up being a bowl of spaghetti. How detrimental is that? So, we know that a NAP score really is reliant upon having these consistent listings across lots of different platforms. If you're in a situation where actually you've got maybe, let's say, an additional 100 listings which are not accurate, they're in locations you're not operating in, or there's additional listings in operations that you're already how detrimental is that to things?
Well, I think it waters down your brand voice, right? You don't have control of assets that you can utilize and draw on or use as a lever, So I can deploy content, I can touch customers at all of these various nodes and get hyper local with our strategy and the way that we speak to our customer. So first of all, not having control of that is a problem, right? Whether it's your franchisees that own it or the franchisor who operates that digital ecosystem, as we call it. So what you want to do is get back that control and then clean up the rogues, because that waters down your brand and it creates confusion and frustration for a customer. And any frustration in today's world is a risk of losing a customer, or brand loyalty. So that's where we start with every single one of the projects we work on. We would do a full audit of the whole digital ecosystem. We then give that to our prospects or clients. For clients, we do ongoing audits, and we have some really cool tools, rogue finders, page finders, and a suppression tool. So anything that comes up, whether it's like a manager or a disgruntled customer that's created a listing because customers do that nowadays, they'll go create a page and just start talking trash on it. So we then identify those pages and have them suppressed. That's our starting point. Clean up that digital ecosystem, make it beautiful, make that digital ecosystem look as good as your branding or your CI, because that's essentially the customer journey starts with search. That's the first touch point. You've got a great brand story. They see it somewhere, whether it's on your brand platform. Now, how do I get that product? A lot of brands forget about that part of the customer experience, right? So they'll sink a whole lot of money into telling this beautiful brand story, but when it comes to like the actual customer experience part of that whole journey, it's so like underwhelming, because now they've seen this beautiful ad. In South Africa, we had a massive problem with this a couple of years ago. Brands would spend hundreds of thousands, if not millions of rands on campaigns. And then when the customer goes and looks for, where's my nearest branch? How do I get this product? There's nothing. It's white noise or silence. So what we really do with our brands is tie in that whole local experience, ensure that all of their local assets are optimized. They're running content. If a customer is looking for something, they get a quick answer. And then also open up the local marketing capability around it.
Yeah, and I think it's so important. I think we see it all the times that brands, maybe when they first started recruiting franchisees, didn't set these profiles up and have control over profiles. So there is a project in gaining control of assets, whether that be Facebook pages, Google business profiles. So I suppose understanding how you should structure that as a franchisor is really important. And essentially it's
start early.
Yeah, and it's for the franchisor to create this under their management and then share access rather than the franchisees owning access.
100%. So getting this right in the beginning is going to help you scale your business, right? So a lot of people forget, like I use two analogies. It's easy to turn or divert a tugboat, right? But an oil tanker, once you've scaled and you start growing, it's a lot harder to move or to steer that ship. So get it right now in the beginning. It's going to do one of two things. It's first going to ramp up your scale, because if each unit is performing at its highest possible capability, and you can empower each franchisee and give them control to market their business better, to manage their reputation better, you're setting them up for success, right? And that then is going to allow the brand to come up and show as a better performing franchise, and is going to attract new franchisees. So I think we always say we work with a lot of bigger brands where we're coming on, they got 9,000 locations, and we've then got, it's a tanker that we have to try and steer or divert. We do those projects. I mean, we've handled projects like that within 6 months and cleaned up that whole digital ecosystem using our AI tools and our team. We still have a team of 36 digital coordinators that work on listings every single day. They have the relation, they're engaging with the guys at Facebook and at Google, and they're working on these accounts. So there is that human element to it, but there's a lot of automation involved as well. So get that right first. That it's going to open up a world of opportunity for you within the marketing and local marketing space. More so than building a website or doing and then we'll chat on this a bit later, but your local pages on your website, tying stuff like that in. One thing we pride ourselves on at Social Places is we're not just a SaaS solution, powered with AI agents. What we are is we build local strategies for brands. So we bring them into like this hyper local world and open up this world of opportunity. So we sit down with them, we do an induction, it's all included. So you get the software, you get us. And that's really where Ash and her team shines, my business partner, is she'll come in and from the customer success side, let's clean it up and get it right and give you back control. But now that you've got the control and it's cleaned up, how do we create this rocket ship for you? You know, like how do we launch your local campaigns? And that's really where the magic comes in. You know, when we start playing with what we have available to us, we can start exploring different strategies. And something we chatted about it a bit earlier, like it's lacking here in the UK. Like the local ecosystems and the way that businesses operate locally is not how we do it in South Africa or how it's done in the States. There's so much opportunity available to excite a local audience, to build a local community, utilizing incredible platforms like Facebook, Google, and people think brand page, you know, but there's so much more opportunity through the network.
Yeah, I think my experience is that there is a lot of bowls of spaghetti out there.
Yeah,
I think that's the reality. And we've worked on projects for you guys, and your team is amazing at cleaning up that bowl of spaghetti and creating it into an owned ecosystem for a brand then to move forward with. And I think this is the key thing, isn't it? And we'll talk about the future of future-proofing this kind of thing, but ultimately, if there is a bowl of spaghetti, you've got to try and clean it up quickly, and it's only going to become more and more important. And I think your team obviously know how to do that very quickly, and it is a big job, a big task, where I think lots of people maybe don't do it because it does feel a bit daunting at the start.
Yeah, and it's just lean on the knowledge that, you know, like it's a project, like any business problem, it needs to be solved. So get ahead of it. That's why, like a developing franchise, we always say, like, you guys, the opportunities are endless now because you're developing. You've got 30 units. You know, how can we get to scale to 150 units, then to 500 units, to 1,000 units, and the only way you can do that is like using a solution, you know, like having feet on the ground, great. But how do I optimize the marketing experience? How do I empower each one of my franchisees? You know, they might not have the skill set or lack, you know, the know-how in certain elements of running a franchise. So let's give them tools and a know-how and empower them to win locally. And that's really what that's what my business does, is we empower franchisees as well as the franchisor to win locally with a high concentration on the non-vanity metrics. So how do we drive foot traffic? Bums on seats, feet through doors, bookings made, you know? How do we help them engage and communicate with their customer better so that the customer's having you want them to be chosen and to be that standout brand. You know, sometimes we might not have the budgets for the flashy campaigns and stuff, but a little bit of human behavior and that quick engagement with a customer goes a long way to, you know, just being that one that was able to engage first, or, you know, thanks, we stumbled across your brand, or we had a great experience, you know, and just start that conversation, build brand loyalty. And that can be done so easily, and you can equip your franchisees to be able to do that a lot more, uniformed, strong brand message way. You know, it's also what we found. Our data shows that, you know, a lot of franchisees will speak in their brand tone, but there's ways to weave in your brand keywords into the conversation, which is a brilliant SEO tool. You can weave it into your content, you know, and that's what the future is looking for, the AI search. So now let's sit down and have a conversation about how we're going to respond to reviews, because we want to critically weave in keywords into, it's not keyword stuffing, it's just weaving and into our content, you know. Voice search, I'm looking for the best this in my area. That proximity plays a part, but also the keywords. So am I running a Google offer, or have I got a post that's that out at the moment that's going to trigger that search and feedback that result? So we do a lot of that with the brands and make it easy, because it seems like a mammoth task, especially across, you know, 30, 50, 100, 500 locations. But when you've got software and a team behind it that knows how to do it and has that proven success, that's really like where the exciting, and can teach you, like that's the educational part is educating the communities of how important these things are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched on it there around the nature of having all these business listings and social media profiles, and obviously in a franchise network is multiplied many times with how many franchisees you have. The reputation management becomes a huge thing as well, which is almost impossible to reputation management as one person across a whole franchise network, or even for a franchisee really to do it locally with just the listings they manage. Obviously, a big part of what you do is also around reputation management. How important is that for franchisors and brands to have, I suppose, to start up with, a procedure in place to manage reputation, even if it's not software?
Yeah. So I think it's the most important. I think at the moment the second highest driving factor on search. It changes quite frequently, but you've got your on-page elements, which means what you're putting on those pages that will attract your customers and the way they've been optimized. But then there are these underlying opportunities or threats to local discoverability, which is your reputation management. Somebody using the word best, whether it's voice typed in that search, if you aren't above a 4-star, you don't even feature in that search.
And that's how the algorithm works.
You have to have 4-star or higher. So that's what we really do, is we concentrate on getting every single franchisee. They normally plateau at about a 4.7, but it's like giving them tools to have control. We have something called AI red flagging, right? That's anything potentially brand damaging to a business, you get an instant alert. So racism, prejudice, injury, fraud, food poisoning, things like that, you get an instant alert. But not only, you can set those instant alerts out for all customer reviews. And then actionable insights. So do I want the AI to just thank all of our positive reviews? Because you're creating engagement from, somebody leaves a positive review and you get a thankful message back instantly. That's powerful, like especially if it's in the brand tone, which what we do. Like we've got brands that will call the kids little mateys, and because they're like a seafood pirate sort of brand, and it's that critical. And how do we weave those keywords in? Then it's outcome for complaints, and if you've got a serious issue, you want a resolution to it. So we solve for that. We work with multiple departments. We normally sell into a marketing department, to the CMO or the head of digital, but we work with your customer success and customer care teams. We work with the operational teams. A review is a powerful insight, especially as you scale, because it gives you data. You know what your customers like and dislike, and AI can draw patterns there. So AI can give you then the insights. So this month we have X amount of our franchisees that are having issues with X. And how do I drive an operational plan? I want to drive operational change. We know that this is a problem. Now I can build a plan to change or to improve that. And that's just off of a review. We're using a simple thing like a Google review and aggregating all of your feedback and touch customer engagement into one place. So that's inbox messages, review, comments on social media posts, and then AI analyzes it all, categorizes it all. So is it a positive, negative, or neutral review? What are they talking about, complaining or complimenting? So those insights, and then with those keywords, it's categorizing everything, and it's drawing a report, an actionable operational report from all of that insight. So it's simple. You need to answer the review, get that response, engage with the customer. But there's a lot more value that can be drawn from that simple engagement from a customer, or what's perceived as simple. But it's rich data. It's valuable. How do we turn that into success?
Yeah, and it's so important from reputation, but just from a brand point of view, that franchisors have got a way of actually understanding the reviews that are happening locally across the country or even internationally, which is so difficult to do manually in general. I actually saw a franchisor, I was at a conference recently, and they had an award, they had their annual awards, and they'd have Franchisee of the Year and, marketing franchisee of the year, but they actually done an award for the highest, I think, average review franchisee of the year, which I thought was really cool. I haven't seen a franchisor kind of show the importance of local reviews in that kind of structure before, but actually it makes complete sense, doesn't it? What franchisee is driving the most 5-star reviews and the best sentiment and the best kind of brand image for as a business?
We've even got some of our franchisees driving incentives with teams, because we can track your team staff member feedback. So which staff member had the highest amount of praise this month? And then at the end of the year, I think the top 3 win something, and the runners up. So they have the top 3, the winner gets a holiday away. And you can get so granular with this data and information. It's incredibly powerful. And your reputation is everything. Even before the age of digital, we said you have one thing, you have your reputation, right? Are you that's what human engagement is about. Think of it as word of mouth, like it's the new word of mouth. Your reputation, people go on. The first thing I do when I go look at a hotel, or I'm in a new country, I will go look at what people are saying, what the feedback is around that brand, product, offering, whatever it is. If I'm going to do a high ticket purchase, I would do a whole lot of research into what that product is and what other people's experience has been with it. I think so. Just in closing, there is touching it, also roping all of your teams into that insight. Right now, we can make better decisions if we can aggregate all of that customer feedback.
Yeah, and when aggregating, I think the other important thing for franchisors to consider is that we're not just talking about Google business reviews here. That's probably the one for most businesses would be where they look to drive reviews, and I suppose the reviews are more visible, but people can leave reviews on Facebook, they can leave reviews on TripAdvisor, on a range of different platforms, which may not always be monitored. So actually, what is the reputation like across all different listings?
We bring it all in,
across a brand. And I think that's where I'm not sure there's always enough visibility about actually how are people responding to our business across the whole of the digital spheres.
Yeah. And a lot of people just think, like we go into brands and they're like, we've got reviews. We monitor Google. We've got our reviews under wraps, But what about the trust pilots or the trustists of the world? We integrate, I think we've got like 67 review platforms at the moment and counting. And we've got our own in-store review aggregator. So it's an in-store reputation tool. So what you can do is you can actually build web forms. We call them customer journeys. And you can have 9 of these journeys per brand. And you can ask questions and review anything in your business, whether it's products, your brand. Some of our brands, I'm thinking in the QSR restaurant space now, a brand would have like an in-store review if you were in the branch. They would have one for takeaway reviews, right? They would then have one for rate the brand, for instance, rate a specific product. And you can spin these up in our dashboard and just get insights. And that data is also incredible because that's, scan a QR code, tap to review, and it brings up and it creates this whole customer journey for them that they can rate various elements of your business, and it's tied into your socials. So it's like creating this ecosystem that we can leverage and really talk to our customers and then use the positive feedback to promote the business.
Yeah, and that's amazing. I know you mentioned socials there. Obviously, another big part of what you do is around social media. What are you seeing some of the things of kind of more AI-generated content, hyper-localized content around social media?
I think content, I love it. I think traditionally people would do that waterfall content, like they would have their brand page, they'd have then the parent-child architecture, and they would then waterfall it down. But you want a local call to action, right? I want to be able to make a booking with that specific unit. So what we've really done and what we do really well is you can create a single piece of content, but you can localize the actual post that goes out. So that call to action for each unit, the post was created once, but it filters out across multiple channels, whether it's a Google post, a Facebook local post, it's on Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever the case may be. When that post goes out, it has a local call to action. get directions to that branch, make a booking at that franchisee's store, complete an inquiry form that is unique to that individual. That's where we find, and we X engagement by 4 times through that local call to action. That generic spray and pray kind of approach. We've done it that you can do it organically. You don't need to pay for it, right? Because these are organic posts with local call to action built into them. Whereas all of this was available through PPC and you could throw budgets behind it. How do we build a hybrid model that we are doing it through PPC and then at a fraction of the cost doing it through organic posting as well? Because then we can also tag that and tie that into our campaigns and they perform better, because we're checking all of those boxes again. So I would recommend, with the social side of things, AI content, I don't believe it's there yet in terms of like generating the generative AI stuff to be done at a level, especially for a franchise where, it has to be done right. You can't have a mistake with stuff like that. It will get there. I'd say in the next year, 2 years max, it will be there with the way things are progressing. But what you can do now is you can make sure you're hitting all the platforms. You can have an asset bank, right, that your franchisees can draw on with head office approved content that they can draw and post across there and build those because that's the important. Like, we've got to excite the franchisees to market locally. You want to have that excitement that this is our business and we want it to perform and we want it to grow on a local level and we want to build communities. But a lot of franchisors make the mistake that they don't empower their franchisees with the right kind of tools to drive that kind of success. So we all talk about it and we all say we need you guys to be more involved, and we're creating a marketing fund and we're going to start deploying projects. But a simple set of tools and a decent local marketing strategy is important. We sit with brands and build that out. And we touched on it before. We're not just a tech house. We don't just build software for multi-location or franchise brands. We built, Ash and her team are incredibly good at doing this. We just won a client now from a US competitor, massive brand. And the reason we won that is because we're not just a software company, right? We spoke to what the strategies that we can deploy and that the leadership that your team can lean on, that, when it comes to local, we have your back. We can come in and we can look at every brand is different. What makes sense for you? What is cutting edge? What's trending? What's going to set you apart? Let's do a deep dive into your competitors. Do you even know who your top 3 competitors are? Do your franchisees know who their top 3 competitors are within their space? How do we then start implementing our tools? Because we can listen in. We have a great tool, a listening tool, where we can give insights into, we build a project for your brand and then your top 3 competitors' brands, and we overlay all that data and it's live. You can see what their content's doing and what our content's doing. It allows you to make informed decisions based on these insights. And that's really where we empower. We serve through our technology. We say we're a human first company, but we really do build products to serve the franchisee. And adoption, it speaks to, over the last 5 years, we've had a 97% customer renewal rate. So 3% churn in the business over the last 5 years. That is purely tech products come and go, but having that strategy element, building adoption is king in technology. You have to have the buy-in. The franchisees need to love it. They need to want to work with it. And when you build them a strategy, there's a classic saying, there's no bad teams, there's bad leadership, right? Your job is to build the implementation plan as a leader that your teams, your soldiers, your troops can run with. And if you don't have the tools that they require or the strategy and plan to implement, that's on you, not on the teams, right? So I always go back to that. And that's been what's really made us shine, is to be able to build that strategy, that implementation, we take on all the heavy lifting as well, because we believe in the adoption of a product. So who's the champion? Yeah, who's going to drive this product? Let's excite that marketing department, because it's the guys with the big ideas and the creatives, the guys in the marketing team, normally like your sometimes D personality types. They want to run with the big ideas, right? Get them involved, but then the operational guys come in, and eventually it's a company-wide movement, and then your business is set up for success. So yeah, I get excited about it. I feel like I've rambled a bit.
No, I totally agree, because I think one of the issues franchisors have, I always think there's the third and the third and the third rule a lot of the time with adoption in franchise networks. So when it comes to kind of social media posting, without too much strategy instruction, a third of your franchisees will be brilliant at it, and they will create really good local content. They're engaged. A third will be okay at it. They do it, but they need more guidance, and when they get busy, maybe they don't do it. And then you'll get a third who don't do it at all. And I think that's where having the structure and software in place to support that and to kind of fill the gaps maybe in the third that don't do it, so it's done for them in essence.
100%. I mean, even your agency, or that's we work very closely with you guys. It's nice to have that data that we can say, okay, these are the guys that aren't doing it. A lot of brands don't even know who's doing it and who's not doing it. So we have that insight. Now, how do we support those franchisees or get, an agency or whoever to run that content for them?
No, I mean, there is so much to it. I feel like we could have a podcast for each different area of this, but looking at kind of, I suppose, data-driven local content, I know you guys do, there's so much more to the platform. I know you connect in with kind of website pages and different things like that. I suppose, could you let us know how connecting those dots of everything in a digital footprint is so important, and how that actually could look like as well?
Perfect. Yeah. So what we found is, you want to build a local campaign. So we've created a way you can deploy even to your website store locator. It's becoming more and more important now. I mean, that's where Google looks for the most up-to-date relative content. We always say you want a claimed, optimized, and verified Google listing. Sometimes Google just unverifies your listing for no reason. I'm sure everyone listening today can...
Especially more at the moment, it seems like. That's very topical.
It is. It's a topical. And why is they're referencing your website, right? And the information that's on the Google listing doesn't match what's on the store locator on the website. So it's saying, okay, hold on, this needs to be re-verified. So it unverifies it. So what we've done is we've built within our listings products a local pages tool. So we become the source of truth, essentially, not only for your listings, so that there's NAP consistency, you can manage your reviews, you can deploy content, but that you make an update once and everything updates, right? So I've got to change my trading hours. It's Black Friday or it's festive season. I've got special trading hours. We've got customers that need to go pray on a Friday, whether at a mosque or a temple, whatever the case may be. Just automatically change those hours for them and change them back, so you get those special trading hours. And then also being able to trigger that at scale across all locations from a centralized source of truth, which is our software platform. Then the content element of it, right? Being able to deploy uniformed content. So I've got a breakfast special that I'm running. How do I make people more aware? I trigger it and I launch it across the whole local digital ecosystem. I don't want to just run brand posts. I've got a whole network of franchisees that I can launch content on Google, Apple Map, Bing. Your store locator on your website is we do local pages now. So each franchisee has a landing page that they can deploy content to on the website, on their landing page. I mean, it all ties into the content tool as well. SEO benefits of that are incredible, local SEO as well as your on-page SEO. So those are things we're playing with constantly is when new products are released or features, the algorithm shifts or changes a little bit. We make sure that you're ahead of the rest. You're cutting edge. We call it future-proofing yourself. So you don't have to do all that research. That's where we come in, and we have those insights. We have those relationships, and we then build that out. If something new drops, we ensure it's within our tech stack, so that our customers can utilize it. If something's topical to your industry or relevant to local search and discoverability, reputation management, or local content, we will add it. We can ingest a new platform or integration within weeks. We're agile like that, so it really has helped us scale and grow our business, because a lot of software companies will be like, it's not on our roadmap, we don't do that, look for some, where if we value our relationships with our customers, we don't always do it, but if it makes business sense and it's going to be to the benefit of all of our customers, we will add it for our clients quickly, because we are agile like that. It's a big thing, and a missed opportunity here. I've been driving around the UK since last week Monday when we landed, and a lot of frustration caused with big brands. Big brands, which are your household names here, that just aren't getting it right. So if you can start winning in that space, it really is going to set you out above the rest, definitely.
Yeah, and I suppose another key factor, once you've got all of this linked together, so you have ownership of your digital footprint, you have it across the whole franchise network. I suppose an absolute key element of this is the data that creates, the reports it creates, the understanding you can have about local performance, opportunities. And I suppose AI is going to take that, having that data in one place is going to be so important with AI advances and stuff. What kind of reporting do you, if I'm a franchisor looking at metrics across this digital footprint, what are the key metrics to look at? How can they track that kind of thing? What should they be doing with the data they're collecting?
So I'm going to use a physical brick and mortar company here as an example. So we want to understand footfall. That's a massive priority for us as a business, right? Footfall is important. That's what if any franchisee who's paying a royalty or a marketing fee wants to know what head office is bringing, what value they're bringing for that royalty. And that's really where our tech shines, is because we can show that non-vanity. What was the footfall? How many navigations to branch? How many telephone calls? What was the booking? How many bookings were made, right? How many bookings were completed? What was the revenue generated off of that? So those we call non-vanity metrics, and it's incredibly crucial. Likes, check-ins, those things, they're good. It's brand building, it's awareness, it's important. But for a franchisee, I want conversion. I want non-vanity, and that's what our focus was from the day we created Social Places. Understand the franchisee and what they want, because we want to show conversion. How do we empower them to convert more? So that's a big focus for us. We have an ROI calculator, so it's nice to see in a monetary value, X amount of footfall, X amount of phone calls converted this amount. Some of our reporting, we can ingest sales data, leverage that for your PPC. We've got incredibly powerful stuff with geofencing competitors and being able to track any personal information, but the device ID that went in there, and remarket because they were at a competitor. So we know what campaigns they have or what products and offerings they're running. We can then utilize that information to see, okay, do we have campaigns that are similar or products and remarket those offerings to that competitor's customer, and then see if that device came to us, right? So that if that footfall landed at us. There's a lot of, when we talk strategy, this is what we talk about. We've got the tools, but let's see how we can implement them to drive conversion, to scale. We want to ramp up this business. Local is where it's happening, right? That's where the customer lives. We touched on it earlier. You have the customer journey starts with search. I believe you've got to win. When that customer finds you, it's that be found, be discovered, be chosen. Then you understand. Through us, we can create that understanding. What levers do we pull on to win? For our brand. Who are our competitors? How do we leverage what we do better? Everyone believes their brand's the best brand and we've got the best product. How do we tell the rest of the world? How do we draw on those levers and local is where it is the future. That's where it's going to happen. And through AI search. So future-proof your business and play in these spaces. If you aren't managing your listings and your local entities, get to those spaces, get control of them, be better around your reputation management, and then also communicate with customers through local content that means something to them, that is local and relative to them. Every community is different, so we've got to tailor that messaging.
Yeah, I think you mentioned future-proofing there. I suppose that's a good place to discuss, really. I mean, obviously, we're going through this massive change with AI across pretty much everything, but I suppose a really interesting discussion point is how does that change local marketing over the next year, 5. I mean, I don't even know how you can plan where we'll be in 5 years, because it could completely transform. But I think how important is it to have, I see the importance of owning your digital footprint being more and more important over the coming years. How do you see the kind of change with how people search for products, how people search for local businesses? It's already changing, but what do you think will happen over the next few years?
So I think we touched on it through, I think, voice search, AI search. People are using your ChatGPTs, Perplexities, Geminis, these various engines are all becoming search engines. People are just using a voice prompt. We were using it now and that's why I was saying it was a missing space for brands, because sometimes it works on Google. It's better with an AI, LLM. So people are going to find that because these brands aren't playing in these spaces, they're going to turn to the LLM for search, and they're going to start working there. So I think that's going to be, I see it being the future. And when we say future-proof, you cannot afford not to have control of this anymore and to be playing in the space, because the brands that are playing in the space will be winning in the local space. So I'm trying to for me to. It's hard to predict. I can't do it. It just moves too quickly. I think to tie it back, I heard Warren Zenner say something which was vitally important. He was talking on a webinar, and he said he had created this really cool AI tool for CROs, your chief revenue officers, and he thought it was amazing, and he had showed it to somebody who was in the space and also building some really cool stuff. And he said, this was cool a couple of weeks ago. I mean, you're on the right track, So I think the importance is, and we touched on it in the AI thing, is build communities that are interested in this topic. It's not going away. It is the future. Be involved in it. Be curious, and tinker, play around. Find a champion at your organization that can drive something like this. Lean on companies that have teams that don't just sell products like ours, that you can learn from and leverage for insights. Ultimately, the decisions at the end of the day on your brand and your strategy and your messaging are yours. That's your brand strategy. But what we do best is how do we get that to everyone on a local level, and that the masses see it and engage and convert. You have to play, you have to be curious, and you have to engage about it.
And I think one of the interesting things, like you said it earlier on, at the moment, Google probably does monopolize 90% of that customer search. So the discovery phase of someone looking for your business. I suppose what's hard to predict is, can they maintain that 90%? And that feels like the bigger battle going on in the kind of technology world, because, your LLMs, your ChatGPTs, they're probably stealing away some of that search traffic already.
And they'll slowly do it more and more. I mean, Gemini's, it depends. I always say, understand which model is built for what, So a lot of people a one-stop shop. ChatGPT, but within ChatGPT, there's different models or LLMs that you can leverage for different purposes, Some are better at reasoning. If you want to do generative stuff, it's better to use so understand what model, and in your business, the same thing across your local strategy. Understand what you want to achieve. The same way you would use a different model within an LLM, you would use a different trigger within your local strategy. So your discoverability, your reputation, your content, your local content at scale, right? So, and utilize the right tools, the right products, the right team for each one of those elements.
Yeah, and I think ultimately, as you say, it's almost impossible to predict. But
You can't.
I look at the way my 14-year-old son searches for things, and he doesn't type anything. He would, you know, we've got to think of these generations coming through now, where in 10 years' time, it's probably going to be, you know, youngsters now would laugh at the fact we used to type things into Google. I think there's a really good chance of that, isn't there? And, you know, people aren't using devices anymore. We probably have our own AI assistants that we really trust to come back with search results. They know the kind of restaurants we like, the kind of thing we look for. And we probably will be using voice to say, can you tell me where I can get the best burger nearby, for example? So that flips kind of things on its head quite a bit. But do you think that's where playing this game now of ensuring you've got ownership and you're really controlling all the things that we've discussed is future-proofing you slightly for that future?
You 100%, because, I mean, where's it going to draw that information from, right? So if somebody's, think of it like, let's start here. So you've got, I'm looking for a plumber, best plumber in my area, or plumber with the best rating. You know, those that I use voice search as well, because I just find it more convenient. I'm often on the road, and I'm ADHD and dyslexic, so it makes a lot more sense for me. But where's that? If people are talking to their products or their assistants, the voice prompts in this way, where do you think it's drawing that information from? You know, it has to be live on a platform somewhere for it to identify it and bring that back. So that's where all of our systems come in, is because all of that is there. It's local. You're covering that proximity. How far away is the searcher from your actual location? Also key in local search, right? Or within search and discoverability. Do I have content online that is informing these AI models, AI search engines, as well as traditional search engines, of what my products' prices are, specialities, and then, you know, availability, affordability, stock count, what's on the menu, pricing on the, I mean, we do menus and products, and, you know, brands aren't playing in that space. You know, your Google listing, you could have your whole product catalog on Google. You could have your menus on Google. That's what these search engines are looking for. And the more you feed it, the better it is. The more prominent and discoverable your brand is. And that is the future. You have to play there, or you're going to get drowned out in the noise. We call it digital noise. You know, you have to strike back. Come back to what Richard Mulholland said, be the threat to the future before it threatens you. That's how you threaten the future. You actively play in this space. You understand how it works. It's coming. It's not going anywhere. Like, how do I feed that machine with my relevant information? And it doesn't take a lot of work. It starts with getting access to everything. You have to have control of it. Bad data, bad decision, bad business, right? Essentially. Leverage Google, Apple, Face. These are massive global giants. They've got some of the cleanest, best data in the world. And these assets are exactly that. They are assets that you need to leverage to build your business. And so get access, get ownership of those data points, optimize them for your franchisees, give them access to them, or ownership if they don't already have it, you know, but bring it under a brand umbrella, so that you have a parent and all your child pages, and then you can start doing some incredible things in and amongst your team, empowering each other, building, and really the sky isn't the limit. You really should be going into the stratosphere with this. It is an incredible opportunity that a lot of people are missing.
It does feel, yeah. And again, I think, like we spoke about in the AI episode, it's quite hard at the moment for businesses to actually action things now to future-proof the business, or, you know, to be ready for when AI does disrupt things maybe more than it is already. But I think from a local marketing point of view, it's quite an easy thing to start actioning, isn't it, to future-proof the business. And actually, if the world is disrupted with Google not having 90% of the search traffic and other places coming in, it's a real competitive advantage you can have on a local basis.
I think so. And just start. I mean, we offer a free audit. So, I mean, that's where we can get you started. Let us do a free audit so you can understand where you are, where you're at the moment. You know, what does our digital ecosystem look at? We can give you some advice. Let's start here. The nice thing about our tech stack is it's completely modular, right? So you pick and choose. We can say we want to get your listings right first. That is your biggest priority. Is let's have ownership. I need, the future demands it. We need to have access and ownership of this digital ecosystem so that we can utilize it correctly, so that we can make informed and strategic decisions and launch campaigns at light speed. So let's get that done first. That's where we start. That's the catalyst to all of our clients onboarding, is we do a full digital audit. We are like for clients here in the UK, we actually, because we're coming into this market now and we're like, where do we start? We have to serve, right? We have to give back. So historically, we would have charged you for this. We are now saying we'll do an audit for you because we want you to understand where you stand, and leverage that. Take an opportunity of that. I mean, there's tons of man hours that go into these audits. We have a lot of cool AI tools that we've built, but a human checks everything and ensures, because we've got to build that strategy and understand where these weaknesses are. So start there. Get ownership, get access of your digital ecosystem. Then you can look at cool ways to manage reviews and do all the sexy stuff we spoke about today. That comes later, that is your starting point. The catalyst for every brand is understanding what the platforms are, where are my customers engaging most. We found some brands thought it was Google and it's actually Facebook. We've got brands that work well on LinkedIn, do incredibly well. It's not a local platform. TikTok, I don't know how big it is here. It's also, there's a lot of different opportunities, but we can tie it all in. How can we get all of our franchisees' TikTok pages in so that they have an asset bank that they can draw on our brand content and quickly deploy it, and launch their own campaigns. We've built wallets for PPC, for local PPC media. So we can actually assign budgets to franchisees with a host of audience building capability in it, and you can launch paid media campaigns at scale for local franchisees, or you can assign them X amount of budget every month, every week, whatever the case. So it gives you those tools. It's a tool belt to empower your franchisees.
Yeah, and I think your offer of the free audit, I've seen the free audit. We've worked together on projects where the audit's the kind of first part of the process, and I do think this whole conversation around future-proofing and just having control, I think it's an amazing offer for any franchisor to do it. And essentially they'll get a kind of scorecard back as well, and tons of data which they can pick up and really have a almost instant understanding of where they are with these kind of things.
Yeah, I think it's let's start a conversation, understand a lot of teams are more sophisticated and they have all of these mechanisms in place. But yeah, we love coming into the conversation and seeing, okay, how can you might have existing systems, that you're leveraging and that makes sense. How do we add value, We've got a host of products. So we do listings, we do reputation, we do social, we do bookings, we've got the local pages. We've got ad tech solution for PPC media or your paid media. We've got the listening technology for open web listening. So yeah, there's various, and they're all modular. So you can just pick and choose and slot them in where you need to, and throughout whatever campaigns or strategy you want to launch. So I really appreciate the fact, and it's been great having you guys on the ground here, that we can have these conversations with and we can meet these clients. But I think the important thing and the opportunity I have seen, at least here in the UK, is that a lot of brands aren't playing in this space the way that we are in South Africa or in the States. And there is an incredible opportunity. I was just seeing within the banking sector, the QSR. I mean, I've been here for a little over a week now and just driving around. We've been on the road the whole time. And just to see what's happened, it's definitely not as far as we are and doing what we're doing in South Africa, as well as what we're doing in the States. So I would say that start looking into what the opportunities are around local content, local search optimization, as well as your reputation, because the brands that are playing in that space are the brands that will be winning.
Anyone listening to this as well want to get started, there's a downloadable document as well to go with the show. That will be in the show notes. So anyone watching this or listening to it, we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, so it's something we really pride in. We build a blueprint, and also feel free to reach out, because we do custom blueprints. We empower. Some brands might not have the budget, or the capacity internally. So we create these free resources to show the teams, how to do it internally, do it themselves if they need to, and do it manually, and build a workflow. At the very least, you get a great workflow out of it, how to manage, even if you want to choose 3, you don't want to build your big 5 per se. You want 3 platforms that you want to, let's get control of those, and get our team to build it. So leverage the blueprints. I'll make them available. There's a lot of insights in there as well, that your listeners can draw on.
Brilliant. Quinton, thanks so much for joining us. There have been 2 incredible episodes. It's great to have you in the UK as well. I know you've still got a bit of travelling around over the next few days.
Yes, I'm off to Scotland or Edinburgh after this, so we've got a bit of a road trip, but I really appreciate your guys' time, man. It's been an incredible experience, the EWIF, and just meeting Paul and yourself and the rest of the team. It's really, love you guys here in the UK, and we're going to be spending a lot more time here over the next couple of years, so looking forward to more.
Brilliant. Thanks, Quinton.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.